got to talk to Snoop, but yeah.
Snoopy dog.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg and Old Dog. Yeah. I'm Old Dog. Okay, ready?
Good day, everyone. This is the Morning After Spill podcast with episode number 3. I'm DJ Puyer, and I'm here with my right hand man.
Hi.
And then we got a
Very special guest today. Very special. He may not need no introduction, but we're gonna introduce him anyways. Some of you know him as the Buddha of the Badlands. I don't know. I always thought it was two different people. Surprisingly, it's just one.
good to have him here. Before we kind of get into the Buddha, does anybody have any res world news they want to talk about for a little bit?
So today I heard about what went down in Allen. What went down in Allentown.
The truth?
What I know so far was there was kids going around with guns. I didn't hear too much after that, but they went on a lockdown.
Oh wow!
The little town went lockdown. The college, the school, they called it a soft lockdown. Not sure if anything was what became of it, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I know so far. Find out more later. On my way home, there was a van in the ditch. Like they might have got pulled over. I don't know, but it was there. Something looked off down the road, and it was there.
Right on. I don't.
But whenever I was leaving, they was gone. Like they were towing it.
So they probably went to jail then.
Like they towed it up. If anything, yeah. But the way it was parked in the ditch, like it was there. So besides that, all I know is the Trump administration back at it again. I don't know what's going to happen about them trying to defund the Department of Education. I don't know what that's really about.
Well, I think everybody kind of seen that coming though. So
it's hard to believe though, like the people, his followers,
mm-hmm.
can't believe like they're okay with what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think he's still pissed about 4 years ago about being impeached. Personally.
I agree. Is that all you got for news or?
I was really hoping the wolf was here, but he had personal issues. But he knows a lot of gossip.
Yeah, he knows how to tell a story.
Yeah, but I think he's stranded. Sorry, Germ. It's my fault.
As for me, I have no news. So I guess maybe we'll save the sports for last, and we'll reintroduce our special guest, the Buddha of the Badlands, Ben Puyer.
Sir Ben Puyer.
Sir.
He might be anointed.
Yeah.
Are you anointed?
No.
So I guess. Oh, sorry. I guess just tell us the story about Ben Puyer.
I could, but I'll choose to I wrote a poem.
Okay.
That tells basically the story of my life.
Okay.
I'll read that.
Yeah.
In search of the lost warrior. I searched for the warrior as a child, a spirit innocent and free, but broken by people's reaction to me. You're too small, the last one picked when we played ball. How come you're always in the way? Don't do what I do, just what I say. Never say how you feel. Do anything but be real. The way of the church you have to learn, or in hell you're going to burn. It's too bad your dad had to die. Be a man and don't you cry. Fit into society, they would scream, but in my heart beat a different dream. Outside voices conditioned me to fail, but a voice inside said, a warrior spirit will prevail. I searched for the warrior as a young man, a spirit filled with pain and frustration, fueled by anger and intoxication. I finally believed what they said. The dream inside was almost dead. Society had finally won. I became the prodigal son. With no dream, I lost my sight. All I wanted to do was get high and fight. Drugs and alcohol became my way of life. It's the only way I could cope with the pain and strife. In relationships, I could not stay. I would always run away. In my soul, I wanted to die. I no longer had the will to try. Then God gave me a sign. It helped me quit the drugs and wine. My thoughts had become my jail, but a warrior spirit said, you will prevail. I searched for the warrior as a man, a spirit scarred but free, made by my reaction to me. With the pipe, I learned to pray, the spirits guiding me along my way. In the ceremonies, I began to heal. I slowly began to see what was real. To grow, I needed all the pain, just like the grass needs the rain. Now, when people try to use their power and control, I just stop and pray for their soul. When in my life love begins to fade, I just remember that soulmates just don't happen, they are made. Not believing in myself was my only sin. That's all I had to do to win. I now live my life by choice, and that's to listen to the warrior's voice. I no longer believe in the end of the trail, because if you find your warrior spirit, you will prevail. Kind of my journey through my life and like the things I went through. It was really hard losing my dad, and kind of felt
Mhm.
like there was really no one there. There were people there, but I didn't. It wasn't the same.
Yeah, it wasn't your
So-
dad.
And then, but and then I got into the whole drinking and drugs, and it just took me farther down the rabbit hole. But then I had an experience. I had an experience where the cops were chasing me out of Kyle, and I must have ditched them off, and I was down in a cedar draw, and I woke up, and here this thing came in my pickup, and it said, "I'm tired of looking out for you." That scared me. It really scared me bad. And so then I went to treatment, and it was. I thought the eagle was gonna fly over and shit, and my life was gonna be good because I quit drinking.
Mhm.
On that spiral down, I spiraled down. I had to go back through that spiral. Everything I did, I had to learn. That was my lessons. I had to come back up, and it was hard. It was hard doing that, but I think what I'm grateful for is that I had, at that time, there were a lot of young people that went to treatment at the same time. So we supported each other, and one became my Hunka brother. That was Ed, young man afraid of his horses, and we became brothers, and we did a lot of things together. And, we got back into the cult. Well, he was already into the culture, but we started practicing the ceremonies and participating in them, and then life slowly got better. There were still challenges there, and it took me a long time to like overcome those. And I think the the biggest thing for me was uh, like in Sundance, and I try to always learn something from every Sundance. And one, I think the biggest thing for me, where my biggest change came, even in sobriety, I had a lot of that negative attachments and negative parts. I really think that there's, for me, maybe I'll get into that later, but the model of therapy that I like to use is called internal family systems therapy, is that our psyche is made up of multiple parts, and that our parts, and with those multiple parts, like if you think about it, people will talk like they'll say, a part of me wants to do this, or part of
Yeah.
me wants to not do it, or
Yeah.
but we have that part in our psyche, and but in that therapy, that model, this guy that started it, he said invariably when he started working with parts, he said there was a part that there was a his clients start talking about their true self, and that was spirit. To me, that's their spirit. And my experience before I even learned about the model was I was working in Rapid back in 2005. I worked at Susan, and I didn't come home for a long time where I live out in the country, about 7 miles north of Kyle. But I I was on my way back, and we were getting ready for Sundance. It was about April, and I stopped at my nephew Jerome's, and I gave him some tobacco, and he said, I said, they want a Lakota name for that program that I work for, diabetes prevention up in Rapid. So we went in, and on the way out, he said, Uncle, he said, go to that place you always sit behind your house, and they said a name will come to you. So I went home, and I got up real early, just with the morning star. And I walked up, and behind my house, there's a hill, and there's pine trees. And then there's kind of a little, like this on the side of the hill. But in that place, I put rocks that represent the sacred sites in the Black Hills. And I went and I sat there, and I sang a song, and I smoked my chanupa. And I was just, in my mind, I said, how in the hell is the name going to come to me? Just about that time, a real soft wind came, and it just a breeze, and just kind of went over my face like that, and it went into those pine trees. And I don't know if you ever heard those pine trees, how they kind of go
Yep.
Yeah.
and those morning birds are singing, but it was real calming. And then I just felt myself becoming more and more relaxed. Then I heard horses running down the draw, and I wasn't home for a long time, about like 3 or 4 months, and I heard that horse nicker. And then, yeah, just like a shock went through me. And then I looked, and I was sitting in the middle of my little Black Hills, and I said, my first thought was I came home. I came home, and I felt really relieved. And then the other thought is I was sitting in the center of that little Black Hills, and then to me it was like my spirit came back. And so it was like return to your center, return to your spirit. Each and every one of us have that true self or that spirit. And that's, from that time on, I try to stay in touch with that. And then what helped me was I told my children about it. I said, return to your center. Then when we'd work cows or something, or if I'd start to get, now start hollering around and being somehow, they'll say, Dad, return to your center. Yeah, I think, damn, so they're right. So but they really helped me, because that was that reminder to change that, to change that energy. And so the more and
My
more I
center's
practice,
closed.
huh?
I said my center's closed. I don't know.
Explain to him why his center's closed. What part is that? What do you think?
Well, then, yeah, someone asked me, like, what do you mean when you go by your return to your center? It's like, spirit. And I believe in our ceremonies, they always tell us, remember, like young children, they said, call your spirit back. If you got a Lakota name, say it 4 times and call it back. Your spirit's there. And so, and the way I believe is it really not closed, it's blocked by other parts. Remember, like I talked about earlier in that model, there's parts. In this model, this guy calls these parts protector parts because we're scared. It's like, for me, I was scared to look on the inside. Um, it was like, it's like when you're little and you think the boogeyman's under the bed and you're scared to look. But what we have to do is find that courage to open up and call that spirit back because we're scared of what. Usually there's a trauma or something that happened to us that's blocking us from getting close to going inside. So, and I don't think it's really closed. Sometimes a part of us is trying to protect us from feeling hurt or pain. And so that's that. But going to your center, what I mean by center is your spirit. I really believe that the Creator gave us that gift, that we're never alone. We always have that. And that's what prayer is about. And that if we really focus on that, that will help us. And that part can help heal those other parts that are wounded. Remember that everything's on the inside. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of, for the biggest part of my life, and even in sobriety, I looked for that healing on the outside, in relationships, job, alcohol, drugs, anything not to feel pain. But when I was sitting at that spot, I realized I looked inside and there it was. Remember, that's the last place I looked. And so, but I think there's our culture has everything to heal us. Our ceremonies, our values, our culture has all that. A lot of the things that I learned, I got my master's in clinical mental health, but a lot of things that I've seen that in the Western world, our culture already has those in place to help us heal. It's like returning to our culture, returning to our center, listening to that voice. And those parts is like those parts in our personality, our psyche, are, I think it's natural. I think Jung had the archetypes. Byrne had I can't remember what it's called, but adult, child, parent. But so it's kind of like working with your parts. And I tell young people now in relationships, I had a hard time with relationships, staying in relationships, but most of it is out of fear. But the main thing is have a relationship with yourself, relationship with your parts. And he calls it internal family systems in that model. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but
no, you're good.
I call it the tribal council in my head. Remember them? Yeah, all of them are talking at once. But with this model, you work with one tribal council member at a time. And the protector, the part is protecting a wounded part of ourselves. And the process of the model is working with that part to get permission to work with the exile or a wounded part, and so that it feels safe. And it's not like we don't have to relive the experience, but we get to review it, we get to process it, and we get to bring that little boy or that little person out so it gets to be heard. Because sometimes when we react in a certain way, DJ will attest, sometimes I had a pretty mean, hot temper, and that was a part that I learned to protect myself. Mm-hmm. But then there's a little boy in there that was really hurt, and I had to go in and bring that little boy and talk to that little boy, and he didn't trust me. Remember, it's like we're really talking to a part of yourself. And I talked to that little boy and I brought him out, and I from there things started to be like calmer, and things are getting better for me.
And
It's a
just
process.
just in case nobody knew or whatever, this is my father,
Yeah.
and I don't know. That's anything you
No.
wanna, or you wanna keep going.
So
So
I mean that is the
This is his moment.
yeah,
Let him have it.
so I mean, yeah, I could get into more detail, but I really believe, like you said, you were blocked. I believe that it's that's something that maybe you're. I believe the Creator wouldn't allow that for anybody. We all have that. He all gave us that spirit, and it sometimes it might be fear or we're scared of reopening that wound. It's like touching a stove. We don't want to touch that stove again. You know,
yep,
we don't want to bring that up, but unconsciously it comes up anyway. Whatever trauma we experienced in our childhood, and then for years I medicated that hurt with weed
The
and
drinking.
weed and and what I'm learning now, the journey that I'm on now, is in January 1st. I made a commitment to quit pop and bread.
That bread must be pretty tough.
It was tough, um, and I just ate meat. I drank my coffee and had water,
juice.
I drank juices, but I found out those have a lot of sugar in them too. So I quit the juice now. But I think really, like in our, I'm not judging anybody, and I really try to be humble. But like for mental health and your journey, is that our diet has a lot to do with that. And I look at it like a medicine wheel. The first quadrant is the physical, and that's our physical diet. And I noticed it's been January 1st till now, but I noticed that I'm real calmer, and I could feel the changes in my mind and my body just from quitting pop and bread and carbs. And I've been exercising, so that's part of the physical too. And I've lost like maybe 12 pounds, but it ain't the weight, it's about feeling better.
Yep.
And then the other quadrant is the mental diet. Our mental diet is the thoughts we think, because our mind doesn't know the difference whether we're joking or not. Like if we put ourselves down, the mind says, oh, I'm going to help you get that. So if I say I'm no good or I feel like I'm not enough, the mind helps you be not enough or no good. But so we really got to watch the thoughts we think, not only the food we eat and the thoughts we think, because again, it goes back to the physical. So like whatever we eat, it triggers a physical reaction in the brain with different hormones being secreted, and our thoughts do the same thing. And then I know when I'm eating unhealthy, there's it's like some of that food might trigger cortisol, and that's kind of like a depressant. And then my body wants more of that. So the more that I eat unhealthy, that seems like the more that I want to eat unhealthy. And now that I've been on this diet, the more that I'm eating more healthy, it's kind of getting to the point where I'm want to eat healthier all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I noticed too is like when we're doing chores. You know, you're more energetic. You're more, you know,
Yeah.
you have more of a, instead of that when you
Yeah.
were in your little phase, it was, you know, go relax.
Yeah.
But now you're.
Yeah, I feel more active, and my joints quit hurting. And I was having a heck of a time walking up the stairs to the high school before I went on that diet. Now, I can.
No, he's trotting
Yeah.
upstairs.
And the other one is our social diet. So our social diet is like, I'm a recovering knucklehead. So, but when I hung around knuckleheads, I was a knucklehead. But if you hang around people that are positive and support you and encourage you, that's a diet too, you know. So it's nothing against anybody, but it's like if you choose to be around positive people, it seems like it rubs off. And then the other one is the spiritual diet is prayer, meditation. And that's the other thing I learned when I was sitting in my little Black Hills, is that I used to pray and say, when I was drinking, I'd say, God, get me through this one. I'll never do it again. Or I'll do this, make all kinds of promises. And I was begging and complaining all the time when I prayed. But now I say my prayer and then I listen. Remember, I had to listen to nature. I had to listen to the wind. And I had to listen to that wind going through the pines and the horses. And then after I got deeper, it was like, oh, I'm sitting in my center. That means my spirit. And what I thought about is that we've gotten disconnected, like you said, blocked or whatever. Blockage. Yeah. When we get disconnected from that, that causes dis-ease. It causes us not to feel good, or dis-ease or disease, you know. And so, like, if we look at diabetes and a lot of things, the ailments that are going on with our people, it's like like for me, I was disconnected. That's all I can say. I can't judge other people, but what I really believe is the Creator gave us that spirit to reconnect with, and the ceremonies gave us a way on how they gave us the process on how to connect to that spirit.
So
that was really something, I think.
yeah, and
We'll use this video for Zoom classes. I think you just gave us knowledge on some things. Dr. Spills even learned something new.
And I got probably one more
Very
thing.
humble.
no, you could keep
Well,
keep going. We got
but,
time, so you could
I mean, that was kind of
share what you
press
want
the
to share.
button, but what I'm learning now, there's a book that person I work with, Shyla, and it's called It Didn't Start With Us. And what it is, it has a lot of research of the epigenetics of, like, if there was trauma 3, 4, 5 generations back, that's passed on through the gene. So when we're born, we automatically are carrying some of that, and we don't even know it. Like, it's like, for me, a lot of times, what the hell's going on? Why am I doing this? How come I'm like this? But it's that generational trauma that's being passed down. And so I think that as part of mental health, I think we really need to start really looking at how important family history is, to look at that and see where what could be affecting us today. There's a story in there and the book is called It Didn't Start With You, but there's a story in there that this young man was real good at athletics, got a scholarship to a pretty prestigious college for baseball. And then after his first year, he just the train left the tracks. He started getting chills. He couldn't sleep at night. He suffered from mental illness, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And finally, he came to this counselor that wrote this book, and they looked at his family history, and he had a descendant that froze to death, and they were able to process that, and he got better. So that's all scientific research stuff and stories that does happen. They did a lot of studies on mice where they created trauma with them, and they've tracked the generations of how that affects the offspring. It's just passed on. They call it epigenetics. It's a writer on the gene when we're made from both parents. So if we really want to heal and unblock, sometimes we have to go back, and they call it a legacy burden, to heal those burdens. And when we heal ourselves, we not only heal ourselves, but we heal our ancestors, and we heal our children and our grandchildren. So like now it's kind of like just like I listen to the wind and to nature. Now we need to listen to our family history, and what can we heal from that?
Hmm. So I guess
I
say
covered a lot. I mean,
no, that's good. But if say you meet somebody on the street, because we ain't gonna mention who, whatever, but um, you meet someone on the street, they're struggling, a lot of trauma. How would you go in and kind of like pinpoint what it might be, and where would you start to work on it, and then kind of finish them,
if I met someone on the street,
or just like you, say
yeah.
anybody you know, say
Well,
me,
usually
or
what I try to do is I really believe in mindfulness, in the breathing and calming yourself down, and then the practice of listening, and then and I believe in that model of internal family systems and working with that part. It's and I think it needs to, for me, it needs to be kind of in uh, a proper setting, not just on the street, but like
yeah,
if there's something kind of keeps coming up, well then you work with that part, and it's kind of like once you work with that part talks to you, and you use your true self, your spirit, to talk to that. And if they can't, if they're unable to do that, then you intervene and help them. But that usually it's a protector; they're protecting something. And one of mine was, for an example, I guess I'll give an example, is I could grab failure out of the mouth of success. And so, and I do go to online. I'm still currently in therapy with an internal family system therapist. But so that was what I wanted to work on, and I called it the sabotager.
Yeah.
So I worked with that sabotager part and talked to it and asked it why it did it, what was what job did it do, and it said it was protecting me. And then we had just kind of had a dialogue back and forth, and then um, in the process, while I was talking to that protector, I asked it permission to go to that wounded little boy, and it went back. And I remember the morning my dad passed away. I woke up early, and he was real happy, laughing and joking with my mom. And I went back to sleep. But then that afternoon, they come and told us that he had a massive heart attack. And here, so in a little boy's mind, if you're happy, what's going to happen to you? What do you think I thought? If you're happy, what's gonna? My dad died when he was real happy. So if you're happy,
you thought you was gonna die.
I thought I was gonna die if I got too happy, or if things worked out for me.
Yeah.
And so, unconsciously, that part was trying to protect me. It was trying to protect me, but it no longer served its purpose. Remember, it was kind of like faulty wiring, or a faulty belief. And I was able to kind of, through that process, I was able to work on that. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Yeah, it does. I think it does.
so a lot of us are walking around and carrying those protective parts, and I always say our little wounded parts, they're always knocking because they want to be heard. And then our job of our other parts is to protect. So they're trying to push them down, and then we start feeling when we push down. What is that? Depressing.
Yeah.
Bottling in.
Yeah, depression causes depression. When we need, what's the opposite of depressing?
Oppressing.
Expressing.
Expressing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Intimacy.
Yeah. Intimacy with yourself first. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I
Yeah,
thought.
compassion, man. Compassion for yourself. That's what all our parts need, is compassion. Come with
You
compassion.
need a whiteboard next to you so you can
Yeah.
put all these out and spell it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope I made sense. I don't know. I mean,
I think
that's
so.
just my journey. And then for the Buddha of the Badlands, it was during COVID, and I was thinking, gee, I don't know, probably bored at home, and I didn't see people for a long time, but I thought, yeah, just maybe a positive, try to shoot something positive in this time of darkness, you know?
Okay, then the Buddha was born. Okay.
Yeah.
At the earliest point of the day.
Yeah.
Well, for some, anyway.
Yeah, except for
Jeez, I
this,
don't waking up the rooster without me.
the time change messed the Buddha up, man. I think oversleeping now.
The Buddha was late.
Yeah, the Buddha.
Buddha has different times now. Yeah. Runs on his
Before it
own
was
time.
like 5 o'clock on the button, but no.
Bim's waking up the Buddha. Or something now.
Yeah, the time change messed the Buddha up.
But I know, like people that get those Buddha emails, some look forward to it, and some use it as a alarm clock, and I know it helps me just to hear that positive words in the morning, and I think
So-
most can agree.
Any other questions? Or and it's a journey, it's a process. And I think one of the things, I think it was one of the quotes of the Buddha the other day, but it stuck with me, is make every day like it's going to be make every day the best day of your life. And when you get older, that's more important than when you're young. But so every day some days that negativity comes in, or start judging people, or
Mm-hmm.
and then I think, oh man, I gotta make this the best day of my life. And then I just try to turn it around and make it that way. And we have that choice. And even blockage is a choice, just to let you know.
It's a choice, Russ. It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. But I did have to go to the bathroom. I was just about to ask, so how's your rap career coming along?
I
know you
haven't.
attempted that one time, so
I know I brought that one, but I haven't tried any lately. But
you read something off, so I imagine that you just put it in poem form.
yeah, no.
Yeah, if you try to rap it, it'll probably sound pretty deadly.
I'll try to rap it. I don't know. This is the one I wrote for the class of.
Well, if you don't want to rap it, you don't have to. You could just read it.
Okay,
as a
I'll
poem,
read
too.
it then.
It would have been nice if you did rap.
Okay. I'll try it, but I'm just a mixed blood Gaka from the reservation. Buddha of the Badlands is my occupation. Here to give you words of inspiration. Listen to the message in this deliberation. Please don't celebrate with intoxication. Drugs and alcohol lead to our extermination. Find the culture without hesitation. The ceremonies are the salvation. And return to your center in meditation. Call your spirit out of hibernation. Be a good relative is the proclamation. Bring the hoop back to restoration. That's the end of my lamination. So congrats on your graduation. Continue on with your education, because you're the future of the Og Nation. The power's in you, the seventh generation.
All right.
And you did that out of fun.
Yeah,
For
I did it out
them,
of fun.
to
Yeah.
get it.
No, I did it to spread that message too.
No, I mean
Yeah.
the message, but
Yeah.
you was with
Because I really believe in all
Yeah.
that what I said, and it's all that's me right there. Everything I talked about, that's me in short
Yeah.
form.
But what you showed everybody is you got out of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah. The magic happens when you get out of your comfort zone, and it's really hard. I mean, because
Especially when you get behind that mic.
yeah, my voice
there's no
shakes
stopping.
and body shakes and everything, but it's like the mind doesn't like what's unfamiliar. So when you get outside of your comfort zone, and to get to the magic, you got to just keep practicing getting outside that. Make the unfamiliar familiar, and then your mind will allow you to do things. I'm still working on that. old as I am. So
Yeah, I guess we never.
it's a work in progress, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just my journey, and hopefully someone could get something out of it. And I'm just again try to be humble and try to be a good relative. Sometimes I'm the shits, but I learned from that too. I learned from it when I am.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
Is that got anything else you would?
um,
Russ, you got anything else you want to ask?
Mm, no.
I think what you guys are doing here is really, I like it. That's getting out of your comfort zone, and
Yeah.
or maybe it isn't, but I mean it's like taking a risk and putting yourselves out there, you know.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but we want to give other people a chance to voice themselves too.
Get it out
Yeah,
there.
kind of get
Yeah,
show everybody, their story.
yeah. And there's a lot of good people here at Littleman that have a lot of good things. All
Yeah.
of us are. It's a circle, you know.
Yeah. And we gotta stick together.
Yeah.
So, but you're good on questions, Russ. Are you done sharing? I guess.
I think I am. I don't know. I mean,
And then I guess if
kind of covered it all, but
if anybody
I mean,
wants
not-
to know,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to know more, we could always have a second one too.
I was thinking a 3-part trilogy.
Star Wars.
Okay.
or so.
Like a Lord of the Rings, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
want one? I'll give you one.
I could break it down.
Well, I know he's got stories for
To be
days. So,
continued.
yeah, to be continued and whatever. So, Russ,
Started out right out the gate hot next time.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
War story right off.
Thank you.
But we appreciate you.
And yeah, I carry you guys here, man.
Yep.
Watched you guys grow up.
Yeah, you
I
did.
was actually born 19, so I was never a kid. No.
Maybe
Yeah.
through the legacy burden. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that all you got? Russ?
Yeah.
So,
Gained a lot of knowledge being Dr. Spills. Seen him, he's over there writing notes.
I appreciate you, Dad.
Thank you, son.
You are the man. You do a
All
lot.
my boys, all my
Yep.
sons, in my mind.
Yep. I think we'll kind of wrap it up there, huh? Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody. Remember to like and subscribe. Anything you got to say?
If there's anyone out there that wants to sponsor this up and coming show, I'd like to call it,
Mhm.
hit us up. Morning after spill. Have our guy Dr. Spills kind of put it out there a little more.
Mhm.
He's an AI, by the way, so does what he's told. No, kidding.
And this is still we're learning. We'll get better. We still might be a little rough on the edges, but I know as we go along, we'll get better and put out better stuff. I think we're on a good track here. And
For those watching, say a prayer for all of us. My back hurts right now. It really does.
And maybe just, and those are just my thoughts and my journey.
Mhm.
And it kind of worked for me, but yeah.
Well, that's all that matters. This is all
Not
just
not
about you.
perfect, and still got a lot of things to work on. So, but I'm gonna do that.
Yep. Cool. Alrighty then. Well, until next time, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.